Hey guys, it's part 2 of my build of the Tamiya Fletcher destroyer here, and we're going to start out with a couple little photo etch over here. So right over here we've got a little part, a little I don't know, hatch or something that comes up here, and same thing right over here that need to get scraped off, and I've got a couple of photo etch parts over here that go over the top of it. So I'm kind of looking at the instructions here, and as you can see, what we're going to be doing here is these two hatches right here and right there. We got to scrape those off and put the photo etch part onto it. So let's get to doing that. Hopefully get this in frame here. There's not a lot on here. There's actually just a kind of little round thing right there. It says to grind it, but we can just kind of cut it off here a little bit. I got a fresh blade all ready to go here. Hopefully I don't cut my fingers off. We just gotta really flatten this out and just sand it a little bit. I think that's good enough right there. Let's see if I can get that on camera. There we go. You can see that little flat portion right there. And we're going to do the same thing on the top right over there. I'll get used to this camera in a little bit here. So again, there's just a little round bit right over there, kind of like the top of a hatch or something. I'm going to go ahead and scrape that off. I think I got most of it, and we can get the rest with a little sanding stick here. You just want to flatten it out and get it ready for our CA glue. Alright, I think we're good there. Now cutting photo etch, you want to have like a hard surface right here. So some people use like a piece of glass or something like that. I just happen to have a little cut in here. A little hard plastic cutting tool or flat surface here. And let me see, I gotta cut these two. What I gotta do is get my magnifying glasses on, because this stuff's pretty small. Hopefully I don't get my head in the way right here. I'm going to cut both of them with my fresh blade. And hopefully they don't go flying up into outer space. Alright, here's one. There they are. Yeah, they look pretty small. You probably can just barely see them on there. And got a little tray here with a toothpick and my CA glue. I'm going to put a couple of drops. Right there. We use a toothpick to get a little bit on there. Here comes the fun part. They both kind of, well, one of them kind of didn't flip over, so I'm going to try to just grab it with my knife and get it on there. Now, actually, there's a little round section on top of it, sort of like a hatch. I don't know if it goes towards the rear of the ship or the front of the ship. Let me take a look at this. This is showing the hatch towards the back, so I got it in the right location there. Let me see if I can zoom in on this for you. So that's our little hatch right there. I'm just going to get it centered up right there. Now I got to get this one flipped over, but I noticed that I still got a little bit of the nubs off the photo etch on this. So I am going to try. I can't even see it on camera. Where is it? There we go. I'm going to try to kind of cut the two nubs off a little bit closer. There we go. That looks good. And we'll get this on the back one. I got to kind of flip it around. It's going to go in that orientation. We'll use our toothpick, get a little bit more CA glue on there. Actually, I got quite a bit of CA glue on there. And just kind of center it up. I think we're good. I think I gotta press it. I think I gotta go over it just a little bit. There we go. It's a little bit of delicate work right there. That's where little tweezers like this come in handy right here. Alright, looking good. So, let's see if I can get this in the light for you. There you go. Looking good. Fore and aft. That's our first photo etch in place. Now the other two pieces that I've got to do are, there's a couple little tiny, I don't know if it's netting or a grill that goes on the anchor holes right here. Those are really tiny. I'm going to go ahead and try to cut them out and get them in place. Right. And then we'll move on to a couple of the bigger pieces. I know we're going to start doing the actual bridge portion. So that's next. Alright, so before we move on right there, what I like to do when I'm doing a model, I always mark off all of the pieces, the main pieces that I've completed in the instructions. So we haven't done that yet. I shouldn't have marked that off. And of course, my marker's not working here. Let me get a different one. Alright, here we go. So I didn't mark that off. Okay, so what we did do is we did do the deck, and that's pretty much it for right there. We still got to do our propeller guards and our anchors. We're not going to do that yet. Okay, so bridge assembly's next. I'm going to start, what I'll do is I'll clip out all those little pieces for the bridge assembly here. There's a little bit of photo etch that's going to go on there. I'll get it all into one spot, and then we'll continue on. Alright, so for the bridge assembly here, actually what I ended up doing is I've got the model instructions here and the photo etch instructions over here, and just kind of marking off in yellow the parts of the model that we're not going to use. That stuff's going to get replaced by photo etch, and this is the radar dome, whatever you want to call it, radar assembly here. I've got the pieces from the actual model here. We're going to put those together, and then we're going to have a whole bunch of photo etch for actually doing the radar itself. There's the radar stand, and the radar itself's got a couple of pieces here, And there's a little bit of more photo etch down here that goes onto the, I guess the radar turret, you could call it. So what I'm going to do here is kind of start getting this stuff together here. And I got to glue it and then do a little sanding. So let me go ahead and get that glued up and then we'll start sanding away. Alright, so the base of the radar here, you can kind of see, is this round portion down here. And those are the two halves here. What I had to do, there's a little bit of an injector mark right up here at the either end of it, so I just kind of sanded it down a little bit, got it nice and flat right there so that it will fit together. We'll go ahead and just kind of hand glue this together. Because there's no marks or anything. There's no pins or anything for you to get it just right. So I'm just going to kind of tack it if I can. I gotta go quick here. Alright, and then we can, it's all sliding around here. Get a little bit more in there. It would be nice if it had some pins in it. Alright, I think I'm pretty close there. Take a look at my get my spectacles on. Try to line that up, and then we'll have to do a little bit of sanding there. I think that's pretty good. And actually, what I forgot to do is one of these little rubber pieces. What's it called? My goodness, I keep forgetting. Polycap. There's a little polycap. One of these little rubber pieces goes inside of there. And actually that helped align it. So what I did was just really quick off camera here, I just pulled it apart before the glue set up really good, and stuck that poly cap in there, and that kind of helped the two pieces join up. We'll get a little bit more glue on there. Get that out of the way. We'll let that set up and then get to filing it. There's a little plastic bag that the poly caps come in. And we get rid of that. Just gonna make sure I've got that nice and even here, at least on the top. Now there's little windows on here. And let me see if I can point them out on here. You can see those, come on, focus. You can see these little nubs right here. Those are, I think, windows that we're gonna cut off and put photo etch on. I don't know if we need to cut it off yet. I got to look at the instructions, but let's go ahead and at least clean up the seams here. I'll try to keep my head out of the way. I noticed I checked the video there. Sorry, I got the top of my head there. Alright, get the majority of this off. The glue still's got to set up a little bit. Now there's a hatch on this side right here, which I believe, just looking at the instructions, I think that's on the back side, so it's towards the back of the ship. I almost said boat. The Navy guys will be all over me. Hey, what do you want? I'm in the Air Force, or I was in the Air Force. And so right on the top of this hatch here is where the sprue connected up to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of trim that completely off. I think we're going to replace the hatch with photo etch anyway. I'm not cutting the hatch off, I'm just cutting the sprue that connected up right there. Try to clean that up real nice. I think our glue has set up pretty good. Let's see if I can do this without messing it up. And these little sanding sticks are real nice. That and files. Believe me, I use the files almost for everything. And the sanding sticks, this part right here is going to be covered up, so we don't need to have it all super pretty. You just want it nice and flat, right? Because the top of the turret here it is with the just the sides. That's what it's going to look like. Still got to put the sides on it, but and that little peg right there goes into the rubber poly cap that's inside of there, so you can rotate that around. But I just want to make sure this is all nice and flat, and then we'll have to be a little bit more delicate on the seam here. I'll give it a first pass with my file. And what I really should do is just take a look to see if we're going to be replacing those windows. Yeah, see, it's got these little blue marking. Everything that's blue on here is going to be photo etch. So photo etch, photo etch, photo etch, all these little windows are going to be photo etch. But it doesn't tell you to scrape it off. So the way the photo etch works is anything that's blue here is a photo etch part. If it's got a sort of reddish thing, it says parts to be removed. And so it's not having me remove the little windows on there. So I don't want to scrape them off or sand them off. I think the only thing I'm going to be removing is the sort of the ladder right here, and this little symbol here just means that we're going to grind it. Right over here it says grind when it has that little thing. So we're going to grind off the ladder off of this and put a photo etch ladder onto it. So let me get to sanding over here. I'm going to get this done, and then we'll start getting the photo etch parts out. I'll see how long this video is. I'm going to try to keep them, you know, under half an hour or so. They might go a little bit longer. We'll see. There we go. I think I got that seam right there pretty good. This is going to be visible, so I want to make sure that it's not visible. I mean, I don't want the seam on here to be visible. The back side here with that door, well, it's not covered up, but it's not as apparent when you're just looking at it. I think I'm going to go over it with a file a little bit more. The photo etch doesn't have us putting a door on the back side of it. So I'm not gonna fuss too much with it. I'll just give it a little bit of a sanding right there just to get rid of the seam. And we'll see if I got an extra door in there in the photo etch to stick on there. Alright, well, that part's done. And now we just got to get our get the actual radar turret put together here with both sides. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue that because there's not much to it here. It's just the two sides like that kind of going on. And well, I'll figure it out. And then once I got that glued in, we'll do a little bit more sanding, get it all put together. And then the fun part is going to be, like I said, doing all this photo etch for the actual radar portion that goes on top of it. All right, I've got the turret, I guess I'm going to call it, the radar turret here, nicely sanded, everything looking nice and smooth. Time to put the actual turret pieces together. Now the two sides here though, and this has got a bit of a sprue hanging off of the side right there, so I'm just going to go ahead and try to kind of cut that out without getting my big head in the camera. Oh boy, delicate work there. Alright, there we go. I think I got it. We'll sand that a little bit, see if I can't cut a little bit more off without getting my fingernail. Luckily there's a little whatever viewport, I'm not quite sure what it's called, right there that I can latch my finger onto. Just kind of get that little nub off of there. Alright, that one's good. This one cut pretty good when we clipped it off of the sprue. It's not as bad as the other one. Alright, I think we're ready to glue these guys together. So, let's see here what I'm going to do. Let's see, this guy goes over here. There's a little bevel in here. And these guys here, let me see if I pick it up like that. There we go. There's a little bevel right there so we can kind of lay it right in. I should use my thicker cement, but I don't want to get up and get it. Let's see if we can do this really quick. Get it in place. Right there. That looks pretty good. See if I can pick it up and just kind of whip, squeeze it together just enough to get rid of some of the kind of seam around the sides there. Come on. Alright, there's one side done. And this side will go in like that. Gotta pop it out just a little bit. Gotta play around with it a little bit and just get it, like this end right here is kind of going in a little bit too much. There we go. Alright, we got that part done. So that gets stuck into the top of the turret. And there you go. Now comes the fun part. We got all the photo etch that's going to get on here with the whole radar assembly. That's going to be some even more detailed work here. And this stuff is so small that even the glue here, it leaves a little bit of a mark, but you can kind of sand it just a tad. And once we get to painting, all that shiny kind of glue part will disappear. All right, and I think we had to take the ladder off of this end. I'm gonna take a look here again. Yeah, it says to scrape that ladder off. So we gotta kind of scrape that off. Let's go ahead and do that. There's not much to it. I'm going to take it apart. Or actually, I guess I could leave it on. It's a little bit easier to handle here. This isn't the best tool for this. I'm going to go ahead and take it apart, get a better X-Acto blade on here, I guess. Kind of scrape that off a little bit. I think I can get it with this. Actually, what I'm going to do is let the glue set up before I start scraping on there, because it might tend to kind of, I'm putting a little bit of pressure on this, and I don't want to push this side panel out or in. So I'm going to let that go right there, and let it set up a little bit, and then we'll get to scraping that off. Alright guys, so I was taking a look at the actual turret, and one of the good things is you can always go back and look at historical photos, and that's what I've got over here, and I managed to find one over here. I was a little perplexed on the radar turret here, and they've got little windows, so let me go ahead and zoom in on this. And you can see here's the round portion that we were doing, and there's little windows right here. There's another one right there, another one over there. But the photo etch had two parts. It has like kind of like an oval shaped window, and had like what looked like another piece, but I wasn't sure what it was. And taking a look at this picture right here, you can see it's sort of like a little cover, just a little like whatever, sunshade sort of thing that goes over the top of the window here. So always good to take a look at historical pictures here. This is what we're doing. We'll have a different radar dish on there, but yeah, I started digging around and finding pictures of actual destroyer, and there it is. I'm not quite sure. This is in probably later in its service here. So it looks a little bit different here, but at least it's still got the same configuration there. So that'll help us figure out how to do that photo etch, which is going to be the next step here, is getting those little windows put in, the hatches, and the sunshades.